Good morning, 5A and 5B. Today is Tuesday, the 28th of April. Today I have a writing workshop for you, and this includes writing a traditional tale. So traditional tales, are stories that are often old, so written in the past, even though they can be brought up to today's conditions. The instructions are, look at the fable below. The story is mapped out so you can see how it moves along. So I've done a writing map for you. Notice how the story is introduced, developed, and taken to a climax, a conclusion. After that, the problem is solved and moved onto a conclusion. At the end, write your own traditional tale using the guided reading instructions and guided writing instructions, sorry. Okay. So let's move it up slightly. It says, Grandmother Spider, a Cherokee tale. So this tale was written by the Cherokee tribe of the Native American people. So if you'd notice, 1 and A go together, 2 and B, 3 and C, and 4 and D, and so on. In the beginning, there was only blackness, and nobody could see anything. People said, what this world needs is light. The story begins with a traditional opener. The scene is set and the problem introduced. Okay, in the beginning, that is your traditional opener. The scene is set where there was only blackness and the problem has been introduced. What this world needs is light. Okay, so Fox said, some people on the other side of the world had plenty of light, but they were too greedy to share it. Possum said he would steal a little of it. I have a bushy tail, he said. I can hide the light in all that fur. So, B relating to 2, characters are introduced. Dialogue makes it interesting and more realistic and moves the plot along when we tell the story. So 3, Possum set out for the other side of the world. There he found the sun hanging in a tree and lighting everything up. The action moves forward and there is a happening from an imaginary world. So something has now happened. The world is imaginary because ours is not in darkness. 4, Possum sneaked over to the sun, picked out a tiny piece of it and stuffed it into his tail. But the light was hot and burned all the fur off. Ever since Possum's tail has been bald. So let's go down. So the problem gets more complicated and there's a consequence to Possum's behaviour. Notice the strong verbs, sneaked and stuffed. I'll try, said Buzzard. I'll put it on my head. He flew off and diving straight into the sun, seized the light with his claws and put it onto his head. It burned his head feathers off, and ever since that time, Buzzard's head had remained bald. So E, there is a repetition of the problem. So it's the same problem, the sun being too hot and burning what was carrying it, whether it's Buzzard's head or Possum's tail. Grandmother Spider said, let me try. First she made a clay pot. Next she spun a web reaching to the other side of the world. She was so small that nobody noticed her coming. We are moving towards a resolution to the problem. Connectors move the story along. And you know what connectors are. 7. Quickly, Grandmother Spider snatched up the sun, put it into the pot and scrambled back home along her web. Now her side of the world had light and everyone rejoiced. Using lots of verbs close together gives the scene a sense of speed and action. So the more verbs that you put in, it will make the illusion of speed, of things moving quickly. 8. Grandmother Spider brought not only the sun to the Cherokee, but fire as well, and she taught the Cherokee people the art of pottery making. H. The problem is resolved, and with an extra twist. So, just your section here on guided writing. Think about these questions. What is the main idea of your story? Where does it take place? What is the setting? Who are the main characters? What do they look like? And how do they react to each other? The plot. What is going to happen? Think of a problem or an obstacle that needs to be resolved or overcome. How will this happen? Listen to, or what is the message of your story? Listen in your head to what message you're trying to get across. So once you've listened to it, decide what is the message of your story. Use language techniques, try imagery, metaphors and alliteration. That's all for today. 5A and 5B, I will see you tomorrow.